What would you do for Abdullah? I don't know a lot about Abdullah other than he was a fat guy that stuck people with forks. But I know that that other guy on YouTube, Hannibal, well, I know you've done an interview with him. He's the one that talks like this, but
Yeah.
he sued Bigelow because he claims he got hepatitis from Bigelow, but not Bigelow. I'm sorry, Abdullah. But
Yeah.
if Abdullah knew he had hep and he's in there wrestling doing blade jobs, that's not good. That's the only thing I think they could cover on him. Other than that, I don't think Abdullah had like a shady checkered past. He owned a rib joint for God's sakes.
Two of them. Honestly, when I met Abby, I was in Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. That was ECW before it became ECW. And I met him and Flair the same evening. And I remember watching Abby put a blade on every finger of his hand because he was going to go in the ring and gig everybody. And I remember we were getting ready to go out because we were in like the first or second match was a weapons battle royal, which back then, it was a no thing to do, but they still did it. I remember Flair told me and my partner to stay in the back, and he just handed me all his jewelry, and Abdul handed me all his jewelry, and me and Anthony just sat back there and watched their jewelry, and they did their match. And he said, "Don't go out," so I didn't go out, and I was like, "Okay, that's cool," but saved me on that. I didn't really feel like going out there once I seen he was gigging everybody with the same blade. You know what I mean? It was getting. That's when I started saying, "I don't think I want to go out there." And then Flair told me, "You're not going out there." And I was like, oh, "I'm going to listen to you," of course. So it was. I had no problem doing that.
And he could put silver dollars in those big gigs in his forehead. I remember that's why would you mutilate yourself that bad though? Because he couldn't have been doing it for huge paydays.
That's how he was getting over. I mean, if anything, they're going to say Abby was the bleeder. Abdul the Butcher. You're going to go in a match for him. You expect the bleed, expect to see blood, expect all these things. I mean, that's what's going to definitely happen. So
Would you do that though, where you had that deep? I knew New Jack had quite a few of them too.
I always go with the grain of my forehead. Like I have lines that go across. So I always gigged that way. I never gigged up and down. Like my partner used to gig up and down. And like you said, they all have a big area right there full of scar tissue. My partner would say back in the day, he's like, I don't care. When I get older, I'll just I'll get a skin graft on it. I mean, how
Yeah.
bad can it be? You know what I mean? And I was just like, yeah, I didn't even think of it that way. But when I gig, I have to gig. When you don't have to gig, I don't gig. So especially, back in the 80s when we got into business in the late 80s, I mean, what was the big thing that everybody was talking about? AIDS.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, and we're sitting in the ring freaking gushing all over the place.
You may have had Johnny Grunge's blood in your mouth.
They have. I go, I get my blood, I dump my blood every 8 weeks, man, just to get it out of my system to get new blood in me. And I've been very lucky. So, they check my shit good.